Thank you very much for tuning in to the Victory is Greater Than the Struggle, an ex-lesbian podcast with myself, your host, Jessica Newsom Potts. Today I wanted to talk to you about getting back on track. I know this is like something that we've all kind of know about, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper today, especially when it comes to relationships. Now, you may be struggling with same-sex attraction. You may not be. You may be dating, used to be gay, whatever the case is, right? But you're navigating new territory in your life. And staying on track with God is so vital. It's so important. For me, being I still look at myself, right? 2 years in, a new wife, new mom. It is not only easy to get off track, but it is easy to stay off track, right? When we realize that we're off track, we need to jump back on it as soon as possible. But how do we know that we're off track? A lot of times we just straight up know because it's disobedience that we're engaging in, right? We are drifting away from not only the word of God, but the teaching of our elders, right? The teaching of our pastors. All of a sudden, we aren't as interested in the messages. We aren't worshiping the way we used to, right? Maybe we kind of stopped going to church, kind of stopped reading the Bible, and then basically we kind of stopped really following God. We're starting to follow our flesh. We're starting to follow the ways of this world, the patterns of this world. And when you're single, you're only hurting yourself. But when you are in a relationship, when you're married, not only are you hurting yourself spiritually and emotionally, but you are also hurting your marriage. You're hurting relationships with people that are around you. You aren't being the witness that you need to be. You aren't being the hands and feet of Jesus, right? You may be saying you're a Christian, but your actions stop lining up with what you're saying, right? And so for someone that used to be a lesbian, right? I'm an ex-lesbian and I'm still like trying to navigate this whole married thing. And it's so easy to just get caught up in your natural feelings, right? It's so easy to get caught up in the tactics of the enemy. And a lot of times what we experience in marriage, but dating, especially when it comes to ex-LGBTQ people, is we experience these thoughts of the enemy where the enemy is just like, hey, you know what? You don't really like men, right? You really don't like the opposite sex because, and then he starts to throw these things at you, all these reasonings as to why you never wanted to date the opposite sex in the first place, right? All of those reasons as to why you were LGBTQ in the beginning, right? He tries to throw that stuff back out, at you. He might say, well, you know what? You never really liked having sex with guys before, right? You aren't going to like it in the future, right? He may say, guys used to talk down to you and treat you this way and all negative. Your husband's going to treat you the same way. All of these different things, the enemy not only throws at you when you're married, but he throws them at you when you're dating and when you're single. The enemy's tactics are not new. It's the same thing over and over again, but we have to learn how to be overcomers. So if you are single right now and you're hoping for more, you're hoping for marriage, you're hoping for children, how are you dealing with the stressors of life? How are you dealing with the things that the enemy are throwing at you now, right? Those fiery darts that are coming at you now. How are you dealing with those? Are you wallowing in those thoughts and kind of leaning into it, saying, you know what? Maybe they're right. Like, maybe I won't like the opposite sex. Maybe I wouldn't be a good parent. Maybe God doesn't have that for me. Maybe, I won't like this. Maybe I'm not like set up for that. These are all things that the enemy tries to get in your mind to deter you, not only from God's best, but the life he has for you, the path he has for you, the promises he has for you. And many times we not just wallow in those negative thoughts, but we stop hoping for more. We stop dreaming for more. So in order to get back on track, some things that we need to do is one, We need to start listening to our elders again, right? We need to start going back to church. We need to submit ourselves spiritually back to God. Having that one-on-one time with worship and saying, you know what, God, I am going to humble myself before you. I am going to submit my mind, my body, and my soul to you once again, right? Because I need you and I can't do this thing without you, right? Doing life without God, it's not fun. Like you are the prodigal son. You're going and you're squandering all of the stuff God has for you. You're just out there just wasting time. You're wasting the blessings that God has for you. You're wasting the talents that God has for you on temporary pleasures. And he's just like, hey, my son, my daughter, what I want is for you to come back to me. I still got blessings for you. I still have plans for you. I still have a purpose for you. And some of you are just like, Jessica, but you know what? That's not you. Please, you don't know my life, right? That is me. I am not perfect. I can't tell you how many times I have strayed off the path because I'm tired, strayed off the path because I'm listening to the enemy, strayed off the path because I'm just confused in my own thinking, right? But I do my best to get back on track. Am I perfect? No, but let me tell you something. Even in our imperfections, God is still sovereign and he wants to give you that grace and that mercy and that love that he has for you. He just wants you to be open to receiving it. He wants you to say just yes to him and say, you know what, God, I submit to you fully and completely and get back on track. You want God's best for your life? You got to submit to him. You want stuff to change in your marriage, in your relationships, shoot, at work, which would be your attitude when it comes to certain things going on, right? You want those things. You have to not only submit to God, but reconnect spiritually. This was short and sweet. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Victory is Greater Than the Struggle. This is an ex-lesbian podcast, and I hope you loved it, and I'll see you guys soon.